Hey everyone, welcome back to Q&J. It's been a while. Way too long. I'm sorry. We need to bring Q&J back. And, yeah, my goal is to every other week. I'm going to try my best. It's been hard. But now that the computer's fixed, it'll be easier to render. Things are good. By the way, I should start off my video. Check out my shirts. My t-shirts are now on sale. I think I did the announcement already. And go check out my Spreadshirt account. miniwargamerj.spreadshirt.com, where you can buy like a Crazy Eyes Dice shirt or J9 Army shirt or I Respect That shirt. All's good. So I'll be going over the comments. Some of them are a little out of date now, but I'll still address them because that's the point. You guys left your comments. I'm going to address them, and you'll leave comments in this video, and I'll keep going. And this one will be addressed in like 2 weeks probably. So yeah, things are good. Maybe in 2 weeks I'm going to Quebec. It'll all be okay. So let's start. So Yahide says, where can I find people playing in Waterloo, Ontario? Now, Waterloo, Ontario, if you're going to say Kitchener, I'd say the Phoenix. But in Waterloo, which is basically right beside Kitchener, you're not too far from the Phoenix. I'd recommend talking to the people at J&J's Cards and Collectibles. They tend to be intact with a lot of the gamers in that area, since it's basically most people shop at J&J's in that area. I'd recommend go checking with them. There was a gaming community at the University of Waterloo, I remember. I don't know if they're still existent, but there's a good gaming community there as well. So thank you very much for your question, Yahide. Hope that answers your question. Next part, 118 Warhammer says, hey pal, I wasn't having a go at you there. Wasn't advertisement were there as bad language in it, and the younger generation of gamers watching your show do not want to be seeing it. Thanks for the great videos. Oh, no problem. I think it was just a comment that something about advertising in the previous video. So apparently it was the advertising, and I've actually done it several times lately where people don't like the advertisements in front of my videos, which I have no control over, unfortunately. But yeah, it's unfortunate. But thank you very much for your comment, 118 Warhammer. I'm glad I understand you now. Mandragora Dravgus says, Super Dungeon Explorer has much cute chibis. I know! I've been checking him out. Chibi miniatures are cool. I gotta start painting them more. They're cute little things. That or the other Soda Pop Miniatures game, Ninja All-Stars. Yes, they just had their Kickstarter. Thank you very much for your comment, Mandragora Dravgus. I definitely agree with you. Soda Pop makes some awesome miniatures as well, as does Impact and Super Dungeon Explorer, for sure. Alec Thompson says, Jay, would you be able to pick some stuff up at Gen Con for me? Thanks, and keep up the hard work. Possibly, Alec. Get in contact with me. Let me know what you need at Gen Con. Depends on what you want me to get. But possibly. I'm never against it. It's much easier if it's like Privateer Press stuff. That'll be easy, because I'm going to line up there for sure. Yeah, let me know what I'm not against it. So we'll see. Chris G says, hello, Jay. I am planning to start a new army. Gamer ADD is a real thing. I know what you mean. And chose Imperial Fist / Sentinels of Terra. Awesome. I'm going to start Imperial Fist too. I ordered some Forge World Mach 3 power armor models to run as my tactical marines, amongst other things. Excellent. I would prefer putting them on larger 32mm bases that I've been seeing with new releases. Would this be legal? Basically, I'm asking, is 25mm 32 basing for Space Marines? What do? You could do either. Really, you can get away with either. People, since I know what you're talking about, Blood Angels. Yeah, the Blood Angels releases, they are actually put on larger bases. So basically, if you end up putting your models on larger bases, most places, I'm sure, would have no problem whatsoever. A lot of the time, it's the reverse that people are having. Like, if you put Terminators on normal-sized bases, people get upset. But in most cases, people have no problem. Because with larger bases, it's actually a disadvantage in most cases. Because blast weapons, for example, will hit you harder, since they'll hit more things. Yeah, so it's usually no problem at all. Most places will have no problem at all if you want to go to larger base size. But thank you very much for your question. Chris G. Philip Paul says, I love the work you do and passion you have for 40K. Thank you very much. It's super evident in everything you produce. I have a question for you about running Dark Angels. Yeah. I love running Deathwing, as do I, like you. But have run into the limits of their competitiveness during local tournaments. Yeah, they're not very competitive. If your opponent has an answer for Terminators, you're in big trouble. I've started running a 2 Land Raider Crusader list with a squad of Deathwing Knights and an Interrogator Chaplain. That's good. because he gives him Zealot. Good idea. Shopping Terminator armor in 1, and a Deathwing command squad at the Deathwing banner, an Apothecary, and 2 Thunderhammer Storm Shields in the other. Okay. Running both up the board to assault the biggest baddie in my opponent's army works well. Smite mode in the Knights, yes. Obviously, with the Chaplain, Zealots, rerolls 1s attacks, banner is pretty devastating. But the rest of my army seems to fail me. I know you recommend Ravenwing in the video, but they always underwhelm me with their results. Any other ideas? Well, you can run like Ravenwing, the Ravenwing Knights. I know people have had some success with them. That or you could bring the Banner of Devastation with Ravenwing, which makes them sick. A lot of firepower. The Banner of Devastation is usually the first thing I go with Ravenwing. Other than that, the Knights. People have had very good success with the Knights. I just don't have them. Other than that, Deathwing or Dark Angels are not the most competitive at the moment. Belial, of course. I think you might have to be running Belial, depending on what you want for troops. Azrael might be an interesting choice because he makes everyone troops. But yeah, Ravenwing Knights might be an option because there you have the homing beacons as well, and they're pretty nasty, especially when you combine them with the Banner of Devastation, with just that much firepower can take out a lot of stuff, and they have hit and run, so they are pretty nasty. You know, I know people have mixed results with them because compared to normal Space Marines, they're a little overcosted, but that's what I recommend. Grey Nugget says, oh, actually he's commenting on this comment. Have you got the Banner of Devastation? Exactly what I thought too. Add that to Crusader and they become beastly. Also Ravenwing Black Knights with Rad Grenade Launcher can support that too. If you run a Librarian with the big thing that gives 4-up invulnerable with the Knights, they don't have to Jink for that 4++. Hope that helps. Exactly. Thank you very much for your comment, Grey Nugget, adding on to exactly what I thought too. Knights are a good addition. And Philip Hall says, thank you. I might look into running a Librarian on a bike with the Ravenwing Black Knights or Ravenwing Command Squad with the Banner of Devastation. Yeah, Banner of Devastation is where it's at for bikers. It makes them insanely firepowery. Sebastian Hailstrom says, hi Jay, what do you think is the next fun mini codex? Demonkin, Harlequins, Mech, Tempestus. Well, the answer is, unfortunately I know the answer, it is the Cult Mechanicus. They're coming up tomorrow, I believe. Let me see. Cult Mechanicus, I believe is the name. I'll definitely do a codex review. So right now, yeah, Games Workshop is focusing on Adeptus Mechanicus. So Cult Mechanicus is next. Yeah. I'm hoping for Croup Moors. That'd be cool. Mercs. Sorry, Croup Mercs. Also, what is your opinion on this kind of codex? Do you like them? Yes, I do. I really do. It gives them flavor. And I know it's weird removing them from the codex, but it gives them flavor, gives them a bunch of options, and yeah, you know, makes them interesting. I know people think it's a money grab, but I've experienced this and they confess new players I attempt to introduce to the hobby as they get minis for it, and then they're shocked to find that they run out of new kinds of minis. I have tried warning them and talking about allies, but it seems to confuse them more. How would you tackle this problem? Sorry, I find that they're really good for exploring. Lesser known parts. Essentially, you have to address that. When you're telling people about these smaller armies, you're going to have to tell them that there's not that many options. So they can run a very limited, like 1,500 or 1,850 point list, or they'll have to ally. Allies isn't that confusing if you just say that, you know, they have to go with more. Basically, you can't build an entire. They're a supplement. You know, they're a small mini army as opposed to a giant army. That's what I'd recommend when telling your friends. But thank you very much, Sebastian Hailstrom. Armor Freak says, pretty sure Strike Force Ultra is a formation for Ultramarines. You might be correct. It's probably in Black Library. Yahide again says, I have paint that hasn't been used in 5 to 10 years. How do I make it usable again? This is GW paint. The kind of paint is pretty squishy, but it's kind of like a glob. Alright, if you really want to, essentially you got to ground it down again. If you can find something to grind it down back to the pigments, which is possible, it is very possible, but you essentially got to break it down from that giant glob down to the individual pigments, and then if you can add like an acrylic medium back into it, it is possible to make paints usable again. I have done it. It just takes time. You have to grind it down back to like powdery, basically. And then if you add, again, then you take some and add the medium a little bit at a time to get to the right thickness. You don't want to dilute it too much because then you're in trouble. So you add acrylic medium that you can find in most hobby stores into it a little bit at a time until you get the consistency. It is possible. Just take some time. Yeah, hide. Yeah, hide. Allround 4 says Mini Wargamer J. Allround 4. I saw your video on the new Skitarii army models and noticed that you seem very well versed in this game. Thank you. I do try. I do Codex reviews frequently to learn the rules. Thus, I think you are a good person to ask the following. Do you have any advice for a new player on how to best fit a 600-point Skitarii army? Ideally, I like the army list to be well-rounded for most game scenarios while still being competitive. The Adeptus Mechanicus is my favorite faction in this game setting, leading to much role-playing tech priests and Dark Heresy games, so I've thus waited until an army of said faction was officially made before this game. Sincerely, Allround 4. 600 points is an odd size. I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back. Sorry, I just had to go get my Codex. And let's look at the Codex. So let's build a 600 point list quickly. I would personally include, and this actually comes to exactly 600 points. I just quickly built a list with the power of television. My favorite troops choice are the Rangers because they have the better guns. I like the galvanic rifles because they're 30-inch range, strength 4 rapid fire, precision shots, great stuff. I would take 2 squads of Rangers at least for 600 points because that's the minimum, obviously. But I would take 2 squads and I upgraded them. 2 Skitarii Rangers replace the galvanic rifles for the arc rifles, which are 24-inch range, strength 6, AP5, rapid fire haywire. These will help pop some vehicles. You really want the haywire nature of them. So those are your troops. For the elites, I went with the Skitarian Ruststalkers. And did I upgrade them with anything? I think I did. I upgraded them with nothing. Oh. Alright, just base. Oh yeah, I think I upgraded. Yeah. I took 1 squad of Skitarian Ruststalkers, and I added I gave the Ruststalker Princeps a prehensile data spike, which once again is a haywire. Because these guys are going to need to help pop some vehicles, right? Haywire, awesome. So that's great. These guys are good for getting close combat, hitting stuff really hard, and then the data spike, just in case you go up against a vehicle, haywire, best friend. For the fast attacks, I love the Dragoons. Personally, I love them. I love the way they look. So a squad of 3. Squad of 3 Dragoons in a squadron is awesome. You take up to 6, but I think I just took 3. Yes, I did. So 3 guys, just base, 135 points then, total. And then finally, for the heavies, I took an Augur Doomcrawler for 90 points, and I upgraded the Eradication Beamer, because I'm not a big fan of the Eradication Beamer, because it's only really good from, it's good, but you really want to get within like 9 inches, but if you're within 9 inches of something that close, you're going to be in trouble with this kind of thing. And then like at the range I see it most of the time is between 18 and 36. In that case, it's only strength 6, AP5, heavy 1, large blast. I would actually prefer the twin-linked, you can replace the Eradication with a twin-linked heavy phosphor blaster, which is the 36-inch range, strength 6, AP3, so it's better from 18 to 36-inch range, heavy 3, Luminagin, but it's twin-linked. And basically means a unit that suffers 1 or more unsaved wounds, glancing or penetrating hits caused by a weapon with a special rule counts as it covers saves as being 1 point worse than normal until the end of the phase. Furthermore, units can re-roll dice to determine their charge range against the inflicted units. I found that this gun is really good because you shoot the things first with this gun from 36-inch range, remove the cover, and then fire at it with the Rangers and everyone else that you want to fire at, killing it. That, or you can assault them with the Ruststalkers, and it really does help. So this gun, I really do like it, and it's a really good support piece. And that's basically 600 points in a nutshell of Skitarii. I think it's a cool army. I haven't yet figured out really the keys behind it, to be honest. That's kind of a cool list that I think would be really working. What do you guys think? Leave a comment in the comment section down below of the Skitarii. I'm going to try to get them eventually on the table. Eventually. It's on my priority list, but there's a lot of models I want to get in the future, so we'll see. So thank you very much for your comment, Allround. I really hope you like this answer and enjoy it. So thank you very much. So let's go through back to the comments. For some reason, the comments just reordered themselves. So I'll go through them one at a time once again. So Codex Phil says, hope your head is okay, dude. Yep, I just banged it really hard. I had a lump before my last video. Get such a bad headache. I was watching Wave the Brush the other day, and Cody Roo said he went up to yours recently and you brought grot tanks. I did. Please tell them that you recorded this. I would love to see them. I did. In fact, my grot tanks have been used in several battle reports since then. So if you just see any of my my Goskal Thraka Great Wa battle reports, recently there have been a couple of them. They all involve grot tanks. I love my grot tanks. They're my favorite unit to run. They're not the most competitive, but they're just fun. I gotta get 4 more. My question, what do you think? What would you do for a psychic-themed Tyranid list? What would you do for a shooting-themed Tyranid list? What would you do for an assault-themed Tyranid list? That's a deep question. So for psychic-themed Tyranid list, bring tons of psychers. The only real psychers in the Tyranid army are Hive Tyrant / Swarm Lord, Turvagons, Broodlords, Zoanthropes, and the new guy in the elite section. I'm not a big fan of him. So personally, if you want to run a giant psyker-themed list for troops, all right, here we go. So for HQs, I'd run 2 Flyrants because they are tons of psychic power in one. I would not use Turvagons. Now here's the reason. For troops choices, they're pretty weak, and you got to bring tons of Gons. So I would actually run, for a psychic-themed list, I guess you could if you want, but I would bring 4 squads of Gene Stealers with Broodlords, because Broodlords are psychers. Then for elites, 3 squads of Zoanthropes in pods with the upgraded guy. That's a psychic-themed list. That's a lot of psychic points in there, because 3 squads of Brotherhood of Psyker guys, right? Firing tons of shots. 2 Hive Tyrants, and then if you want, bring a Turvagon, or like just max out Gene Stealers with Broodlords in your troops choice, maybe in 6 of them, because the Broodlords just give you extra dice. If you really get a power that you really want to use them. But the Broodlords are there essentially to give you extra dice for your psychic powers, to make sure that your Zoanthropes and that your Hive Tyrants get their psychic powers off. So that's how I'd run a psychic-themed list. For a shooting-themed list, once again, double Flyrant, Twinling Devourers, Wings. Great shooting. For elites, Zoanthropes or Hive Guard. Hive Guard are still really good shooting. Really good. For troops, I'd go Warriors. Warriors with Devourers and Scything Talons. It may be worth bringing... No, I'd still take 2 Flyrants if you want to be competitive. If you don't want to be as competitive, a Flyrant and a Tyranid Prime. That way you stick the Tyranid Prime with a giant squad of Warriors, bumping their ballistic skill up to 4, and they're hitting now on 3s, which is pretty sweet. With their 3 shots each. Tons of Warriors. Warriors are great, are the best shooting for troops. Elites, Hive Guard. For fast attack, maybe a Harpy or a Hive Chrome. Or even Gargoyles. Just swarms of Gargoyles. They'll get tons of shots off. They're not very good strength shots, but strength 4, you know. And for heavy, Tyranifexes. Either with a giant gun of range that's strength 10, or with the, 20 shots. And that's tons of shooting for Tyranids. And then for assault, once again, if you really want to go super assault, Swarm Lord with his guard, a squad of 3 guard with him. Elites, I'd go Venomthropes, because Venomthropes will keep your guys alive from the opponent shooting while trying to get them in close combat. They're not as bad in close combat as well, but no. For troops, Warriors. Warriors with swords. Bone swords are pretty nasty in close combat. Or Gene Stealer spam, but I prefer Warriors. They're much more survivable. For fast attack, you can go, if you want super assaulty, go Warriors with Wings. It'd be pretty fun. Not the most competitive for that choice, but they're still really nasty in close combat. They jump in, they get 4 attacks on the assault. And then for the heavies, I'd say either Molochs or Carnifexes, because they're the most assaulty in the slots. Or even a Trigon Prime to keep your guys in gear while running, you know, moving with the swarm towards your guys. They're pretty good in close combat too. Trigon Primes are really good. Carnifexes are really nasty still in close combat. Hopefully you don't run into Force. Or Toxicrine. Toxicrines are really good in close combat as well, because they have Poison 2 up, instant death on a 6, they have a great initiative. Weapon skill 3 kind of sucks. That's the biggest thing with the assault phase. And Tyranids right now, their weapon skill kind of sucks. So that's how I'd run Assaulty. So thank you very much for your question, Codex Phil, and I hope that answers it. J Rat 85 says, "Wow, that's the first time I've been mentioned. At least that's that I know of. Well, then this is the second J Rat. Thank you very much for your comment." Michael Backer. Michael, yeah, from Adepticon. Hey Jay, an Ultramarines Mike here from Adepticon. How are you? I'm great. How about you, Mr. Mike? In response to the guy who asked about the metallic blue and green... Oh, by the way, I looked that up afterwards. Metallic blue and green, Reaper makes metallic blues and greens that are actually really, really nice. Otherwise, glazing, as you suggest in this comment. Use glazes over metallics, tint the metallic. It won't dull the metal like shades do. Also, if you could design any new Xenos race into the 40k universe, what would it be like? Actually, I think it would be exactly like Skitarii. The Skitarii and the Cult Mechanicus, they are so cool. They are just awesome, and I really love the way that they look. Maybe. Let me think about it. A new Xenos army, though. I'd say element-themed, but elements could be like Tyranids, but I think it'd be really cool to have an elemental-themed army. Kind of like Troll Bloods for 40k. That'd be kind of cool. P.S. At Adepticon next year, would you be opposed to playing against a 30k Legion? Not at all. I'd gladly play again, Mike. It's our tradition. I have to play you again next year. So if you want to bring a 30k Legion, we'll make it work. For sure. I'm building one as a posting. Gladly. I will gladly play again, Mike. For sure. Scardcast. Scardcast. He put 2 comments. Black Library has some Space Marine formations that are quite good. That's true. Since that last video, I did look it up, and Black Library does have some formations. It's where all the hidden information is. And my favorite character is Drago, and Scardcast said, "Drago, eh? Well, seems like your type is beefy character with armor and shield." And it is. It really... Oh, Drago, I love the story behind him. I love the original story behind him. And now, of course, he might have met the Eldar. Not the Eldar, the Elves. He's kind of referred to in the last... the End of Times book. So, the End of Times. That's cool. Anthony Paley says... 2 boys both tell the same Grot to shiny up their Shudas. The Grot only has time to clean one Shuda, and knows saying no will get him good and stomped. So his only Orky option is to DACA one of the boys with his sneaky little Grot gun. One of the boys has lots of teeth saved up and is known to pay for good work. The other is very scary and keeps a choppa for his hand ready at all times. Who does the Grot DACA? I would say, well, if he's thinking short term, shoot the one with the teeth. Because if he shoots the one with the teeth, less threatening, and he gets all the teeth instantly. If he's thinking long term, which Grots sometimes do, he'd kill the one with the axe, because in the long run, the one with the teeth would pay better. And now you know. Business for Grots. Castellan Don says, "Can't wait for Adeptus Mechanicus." Neither did I. They look awesome. They're a cool army. And Cult Mechanicus is tomorrow. I'm stupidly excited for that. They even look cooler than the Skitarii, but I'm going to go with Skitarii, I think, in the end. But we'll see. They're both really cool armies. Master Dwaylen says, "Hi Jay, nice to see Q and J back in action." It was. And then it kind of went away for 5 weeks, 6 weeks. My question is, when you paint, not for Miniature Painting 101 or for painting with Jay, do you listen to music? Actually, I do. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a sec. Audiobooks or something else. I know when I paint, I listen to you. Oh, thank you. Basically, whenever I'm painting that I'm not painting for the painting with Jay, I listen to music all the time. My iPod or my iPhone, I mean, is always on shuffle. I listen to music all the time. It helps pass the time, helps keep me in gear. It's always in the background. Love to do it. Hands down. Or that, or I sometimes listen to other music videos or something like YouTube. I'll listen to that on my phone. Other people's videos. Yeah, I'm always listening to something. Thank you very much for the question, Master Dwaylen. Mini Warzone says, your Painting with Jay series has really helped me get stuff done. I'm very happy about that. Thank you very much, Mini Warzone. You've inspired me to start a similar series of my own channel, so thank you for that. No problem. I'm glad I've inspired you. Please, please, please keep them coming. I can't get enough of them. Thank you. Actually, it's actually now kind of the fan favorite series I find is the Painting with Jays, which is really cool. I'm glad that they're turning out so well and people like them. It helps get me some, it gets a lot of stuff done on my half too. Like I use it as just an hour where I sit down and paint, and the amount of work I get done actually surprises me. It's quite nice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sorry, thirsty. Sponsor. Kidding. Rhoda Fury says, hey Jay, I was wondering something as of late. I have finally started collecting my well armies scents. I can't help but kind of buy between two of them. My question is, what do you think about using models from other companies? One thing I wanted was a few female models in my army just to break it up, especially if you're playing guard, for sure. These models break it up as well, maybe use some helmets. So I've been looking at Victoria Miniatures, Raging Heroes for new female models, and Puppet Wars. Of course, most of them will be GW stuff, but I wanted some other thoughts on using different models or parts from other models. Astra Militarum, yeah, for sure. Definitely. I love it. I highly recommend buying other companies' models and swapping them in, especially if you like the female Astra Militarum models. There's a few, like the Deadliest Girls in the Galaxy or whatever that series is called. People leave, you'll know what I'm talking about. People leave comments on this. For sure. I highly recommend it. I love it. Because, especially with Astra Militarum, it's one of the easiest armies to do this for because it's essentially an army. Like, it looks like a normal army. US, whatever, human army. And so it's really easy to substitute other models in, and it looks awesome. It gives your an army a really good feel. I'd recommend staying with the bases. That's actually where a lot of the thing lies, is the base size. But I would have no problem whatsoever if you brought in other companies' models, personally. I think it's great. Mm-hmm. But thank you very much for your comment, Road of Fury. I highly recommend them. I think the Deadliest Girls in the Galaxy, I think they're called, is one of the ones that people really like and are going to substitute the women in for. But there's other companies that make great female army models. Also, great red and blue comment. And that would be a bit of fun. Also, yeah, I hope Astra Space Marine and all the others who don't yet get formations. Yeah. Jim White. Hey, Jim White. Says, Jay, you've mentioned that you are a bad gambler. Well, yeah, I'm not good at gambling. So I ask, which gamble would you take of the following? Taking a chance the flower shop doesn't have roses for you and your wife's anniversary? Having a large amount of money while shopping in a Games Workshop store and them not having the item you or your want? Or number 3, having a small amount of money in a Games Workshop store and having your wife find just the item she would love to have for an anniversary gift. Personally, I'd actually take the risk. I know it sounds weird, but I would take the first one. Because if my wife didn't get the roses aren't actually her favorite flower. She likes roses, but her favorite flowers are Gerber daisies, or Gerbera. Make your daisy a Gerber daisy. So I'd risk that. Because worst comes to worst, if they don't have any roses, I'll go with Gerber daisies. Mm-hmm. Also, good thing to get wife romantic gifts. Yeah. I'd say so. Thank you very much for your comment, Jim White. I think that's it. Dr. Roctopus says, Jay, could you sing us a song about your favorite things? Like Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens? Maybe one day. I might need alcohol to get up the confidence. Or write a song and make a parody video. I don't know, we'll see. But very good suggestion, Dr. Octopus. I love his name. Dr. Octopus is a great name. Andrew McCormick says, Hi Jay. Hi Andrew McCormick. Painting question. At the tender age of 7, I started collecting Eldar. 20 years later, I have dabbled in other armies, but Eldar has always been around, bringing my army to around 18,000 points, and it's a state. Okay. I've decided to change my color scheme from black and red to Yandon color and blue. Okay. Painful, I know. I have an airbrush and want to use it as much as possible due to my inability to hold a brush and the fact I don't want to die of old age before finishing. Good suggestion. I love airbrushing. Airbrushing will save you a lot of time with base coats. You'll be able to do the helmets and the bodies really easily, but then from then on you'll probably have to take a brush to it for the small details. I've watched your video on white and was wondering how would you recommend using an airbrush to replicate this? Unfortunately, I don't think stripping the models will be viable, as I have a lot of Forge World which does not enjoy being submerged in acid. Suggestions. So if you want to work on white, white's actually quite easy with an airbrush. You just do grays and then build up to whites. So essentially, your first coat would be gray. You choose a mid-tone gray, for example, and then you build the white on top of the gray, which allows the shading. Or the other option is, as I've done this before with larger models, you can actually spray the entire model white, or do like a zenithal approach, hit it with a white, and then you post-shade it with a gray in the crevices or the recesses. Third option, you hit it with an airbrush with a white, and then just take a soft-bodied black from Secret Weapon Miniatures, and then just apply it with a brush along the recesses and the edges afterwards. I'd recommend putting maybe a satin varnish on it ahead of time, but that's a simple way of doing it. Oh, the next comment. Sorry, Jay. Video on yellow, not white. Yellow, not white. Okay, so yellow's a different story. But yellow is pretty easy with an airbrush. You just, again, you zenithal it. Let's say you're using the GW colors. You hit it from, I would do is I'd prime the model black, gray or white, depending on the shadowing you want. White's a solid color, but gray would be good for some more deep shadows. Don't go black. No. So if you have your colors already black and red, you might want to just reprime them gray. But gray primer or white primer for yellow. Don't go black. And then what I just do it is from straight on, hit it with Averland Sunset. From a 45-degree angle, hit it with Hero Yellow. And from a top, Flash gets yellow. Or if you're like specifically want to highlight if you have a more precision airbrush, like what I use a Sotar 2024, or I can use my Patriot 105 for this, but a Sotar 2020 is easier. I did the entire model with, once again, Averland Sunset, and then with my airbrush very, very closely and detailed. You may want to drop the PSI for this. Hit all the details you want, one at a time. First with Aerial Yellow, and then once again with Flash Gets Yellow, hitting up the details part at a time, building up the detail on the armor, and allowing the armor to essentially dictate your highlights with your airbrush. And those are the two ways to do yellow. It's not too bad. As I said, the primer is the key. Don't hit it. Don't use black primer. Airbrushing yellow colors over black is just too much of a hassle. So I really hope that answers your question. So that's it. There weren't a lot of comments, probably because you realize it's going to take so long for me to answer them, and it did. I apologize for that. But this is, I'm trying to get Q&J back, and I'm going to bring back your trust in me. In 2 weeks' time, I'm going to do this probably before I leave. I might be going to Quebec that weekend, but we'll see. So thank you as always for watching and supporting my videos. Thank you for leaving your comments and your questions in the question section. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm glad that Q&J is back. And check out my Spreadshirt store. So once again, it is miniwargamerj.spreadshirt.com, where you can buy a cool shirt like Crazy Eyes Dice here. Cool stuff. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for supporting. Till next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting.